Hello everyone, I'm the EFC and this is Blue Line TV, and today I'm bringing you guys a Chelsea news video. And in today's video I'm going to be talking about Courtois, him postponing his contract talks for another month, his comments in regards to Antonio Conte and Eden Hazard. I'm going to be discussing whether some of the Chelsea players are pretty discontent with Antonio Conte as well. Plus, I'm going to be talking about Chelsea's youth and obviously their 6-0 win over Fulham. I'm going to be talking about Italy wanting Antonio Conte. And to end this video, I'm going to be talking about Frank Lampard and his coaching qualifications. But starting with the first video, and that's going to be about Courtois' contract talks and how this links in with some of the Chelsea players' attitudes towards Antonio Conte. Starting with the first video, and that's going to be about Courtois postponing his contract talks for another month and the relationships with the players and Antonio Conte. Now, with Courtois, yes, for another month he has postponed contract talks. It's not the first time he's been doing this in December, in January and in February. And to be honest, this does link in quite nicely with something my source told me a couple of months ago. And I've been told that the likes of your Courtois and Eden Hazards aren't going to be extending their contracts until Antonio Conte's left. Now, I know some people might not believe what I'm saying. That's completely understandable. That's fine. But you guys, I think I am pretty reliable. I think a lot of things that I've said on this channel have come out to be true. And you guys do hear about them in the press in the weeks to come or the months after. And it makes no surprise to me that this could be the reason as to why these guys haven't fully committed. Let's not forget to, it's not the sole reason, it's like a spectrum of reasons. Imagine there's a circle, imagine maybe 40%'s down to Antonio Conte, the other 60% could be with Chelsea's ambitions as well. Let's be serious, if we don't get into the Champions League, I think it's pretty obvious that your likes of your Hazards and your Courtois could be leaving. They might be deciding maybe Chelsea isn't the right club for me. We've been here long enough. We aren't really progressing and going to another level. We are getting older. There is strong interest from a lot of big clubs out there in Europe. Maybe it could be time to go and time to leave. But I did make this point earlier about how possibly some of the players could be showing some discontent surrounding Antonio Conte, and this is based on a few things that these guys have been quoted as saying in interviews and when they've been on TV as well. Courtois came out recently after being interviewed by a Belgian TV channel called Play Sport. This was after the Man United loss, and Courtois told Play Sport that he couldn't understand why Hazard was subbed off, but it's Conte's choice and he's not inside the manager's head to understand why. He implied that Conte would have to explain why he subbed off Hazard, and he ended the short quote by stating that he feels that players like Hazard should stay on for the whole 90 minutes. Obviously bringing some context to Courtois' quotes, and that's the fact that Hazard has been subbed off quite a lot during this season. Probably more times than he's ever been subbed off during this career at Chelsea. And it's not the first example of players questioning some of Conte's decisions. And before people say things like player power and all those really boring answers, let's be serious. It's natural for a human being to question their authority or their managers. I'm sure we've all questioned our parents' decisions once, our teachers, our bosses, etc, etc. So it's no surprise that a professional footballer is going to question some of the decisions made by the manager. There's been other signs of discontent, of course. I brought the story as to how Luis and Conte fell out, so that's going to be in the annotation above if you guys want to obviously get a refresh into what happens. Eden Hazard himself has also been quoted saying a few things as well. After the Barcelona game, for example, he was quoted as saying that the way he played in the final 10 minutes of that game, he'd prefer to have played there throughout the game. He said that he does enjoy playing as a false nine, but of course that's in regards to the certain context of the games. If you're playing against a team like Barca where you're not going to have much possession and you're going to have to play a lot of direct balls, that's not going to be the most effective game for Eden Hazard. Hazard has also said numerous times that he prefers for the team to attack. Before our game against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup, Hazard kept saying the fact that he feels that Chelsea needs to go and attack Arsenal and that defending wouldn't be key. During the start of the season as well, Hazard said in an interview that he doesn't really care about tracking back. When he was asked about what makes the perfect player, as Hazard said, you don't need that in regards to tracking back. Don't tell Conte but you can write that. It's pointless. If you defend too much, you tire yourself out. If I've spent the whole game defending, forget about me being useful after the 60th minute. and I'm quite fit. And another quote, in another interview where him and Willian were together, he spoke about the ease at which it was to play with Willian, and he coughed jokingly that, but it's Antonio, you know, implying that the manager doesn't use them as often together. And obviously you can get the gist of what Hazard's trying to say, that he doesn't enjoy playing without the ball and defending as much. And of course, that's important and essential to how Antonio Conte likes to play football. Other quotes by other players, Courtois after the 0-0 draw with Everton, he said the fact that he felt if there was a big guy up front, they would have created more chances and they could have won the game. And that was him obviously questioning why Conte didn't bring on Morata in that game. And another point was by Cesc Fabregas right after the Barcelona game. He said that when we do play against Barca in the new camp, it will be a suicide mission to defend for 90 minutes. We have to feel like we can hurt them. And basically there's a pattern to what all the players have been stating. It's quite obvious now that a lot of them aren't enjoying playing defensive football and playing without the ball as well. So naturally with these players, if they're not winning, they're always going to be uncomfortable playing this certain way. And to give my opinion, I've always thought that we don't necessarily use a system that really complements a lot of the great players that we have. So it's no surprise to me that they can play with 120%, but it's natural that they can't keep up that form for years to come. Let's not forget too, a lot of reports coming out that a lot of players are unhappy with some of Conte's training methods as well. And I think that it's starting to paint a bit of a clear picture. I'm not implying that the players don't respect Antonio Conte or they don't like him. Of course you can like someone that you disagree with, but you can tell that they're not as happy. And if we have to be serious, if this season does become a disaster, if we don't make it into the Champions League for next year, if we are out of Europe as well and we don't win anything this year, don't be surprised to see the likes of your Courtois and Hazards really considering their future at Chelsea. Moving on to the next story, and that's in regards to Italy wanting Antonio Conte to be their new manager. As it's been reported, Costa Carta has come out and stated that Italy have made Antonio Conte their #1 option. Costa Carta said that he's planning on talking to Conte in the next couple of months, which is probably going to come when the season's over. And Italy want Conte over Ranieri, Ancelotti and Mancini, for example. Again, Conte has stated before that he doesn't want to return to international football just yet, especially because he prefers club management, but who knows? Let's say that Conte does leave at the end of the year. Conte wants to go to a top team. Now, if there are no top teams available for him to manage, he might consider maybe rejoining Italy again to keep his options available. We'll have to watch this space and really see what unfolds in the future. I'm moving on to the final two stories, starting with Frank Lampard. And Frank Lampard is one step closer to club management. He will have his pro coaching license by the end of this summer, as his A license finishes this spring. And he's going to start his pro license in the summer. And really, when he does complete his pro license, that will allow him to manage clubs that are participating in Europe. So if Lampard was offered a job in the summer, for example, he could take that as long as it's not a team participating in Europe. Still, it is great news. What do you guys think? In the future, would you like to see an ex-legend come back to manage the club? Lampard is actually the under-18 assistant manager under Jody Morris so far, so he is getting a good footballing education tactically. Also, he has been coached by some world-class managers throughout his career as well, so it wouldn't be a surprise to see what kind of things Lampard has taken, obviously being under their management. And to end on the final story, and that's about the youth team. They did beat Fulham 6-0 in the quarter-final of the FA Youth Cup. So it's going to be a 9th year in a row where the youth team have reached the semi-final of the FA Cup. And it's incredible. We have by far the best youth academy in the world, without a doubt now. And is it really crazy to think that we should be looking towards some of the youth players that we possess already to build for the future, especially when we're so inconsistent? I mean, most of these youth teams that the youth team have destroyed, they have gone on to produce a lot of academy graduates, most notably Sane, Foden for Man City, Rashford, Nkunku at Paris Saint-Germain, Kimpembe as well, Adama Traore. I mean, I can go on. And these are guys who are playing football and prospering in their career now, and they should be the main focus for the club going forward. I don't think it's that crazy, if I'm being honest. 9th year in a row, this is breaking records right here, and it's destroying all of the best youth academies in the country. Plus, the youth academy is getting younger, plus most of them are young English players as well. What more do they need to do to get a look in, and for the club to change their direction to looking towards some of the young academy graduates that we possess? But anyway, you guys, that's going to end today's Chelsea news video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Anyway, you guys, I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Line CV. Signing out.